Hey guys, Brian here. I would like to say this is my first time changing the dang thermostat on this truck, but it's the second. So here was the first thermostat that came out of there, right? And I put the exact same thing back in there, just a new one, right? Don't do that. These trucks, the 6.9 liter diesel, they do not run with those the regular thermostats. You got to have a special thermostat. Not really special, it's just the original type. This is what it looks like, okay? Has a small gasket on the outside, has rubber down here. So that's what it looks like. I don't know if you can even see that. Yeah, you can see that good. So that's what it looks like. I got this at National Auto right down the road. They're like a block from my house. After I went to O'Reilly's and bought the wrong one, they're always selling me the wrong parts. So this right here has the part number 14399. I've found them on Amazon for as cheap as 17 bucks, I believe. So yeah, you're not gonna pay $3 like when you buy that one right there. You're gonna pay like 20 bucks, 25 bucks. So yeah, it also says in the manual you do not use aftermarket thermostats. And actually, I might as well show you. That way you can see for yourself. Where did it go? I think it's in chapter 3. Okay, so right here it's saying the factory specified thermostat does not contain an internal bypass on these engines. An internal bypass is located in the block. The use of a replacement thermostat other than meeting the manufacturer's specifications will result in engine overheating. Use only thermostats meeting the specifications of Ford part number E5TZ8575C or Navistar International part number 1807945C1. Okay. So this, I've looked on the forums and they pretty much said this is the one right here. So I've already started draining the radiator. That way I don't have to buy more antifreeze. I first started draining it by, I siphoned off the top a little bit, which was probably a good idea because it took about, I want to say, 1.5 gallons. So that's going to save me some time draining it at the snail pace. So yeah, my suggestion is start draining it and start taking off the stuff because it just takes way too long to drain it once you get to the part where you need to drain it. Okay, so first things first, you got to take the alternator off. Then you got to take the vacuum pump off. Then you got to loosen up this bracket right here that holds this fuel filter. Then you can get to the thermostat. I'll update you as I go. Super simple, guys. Loosen up the alternator bolt, your vacuum belt comes off, and your alternator belt comes off. Okay? 9/16 socket, by the way. Then you take the alternator mounting bolt off, 5/8 socket. Second alternator mounting bracket. You gotta be careful on the back side. There's a nut. Well, it's not a nut, but it's a fabricated nut, and it is meant to stay in place. That is 1/2 inch. For the sake of time, I'm not going to disconnect the batteries or the alternator. Just make sure you don't contact anything, you know, be safe. Next order of business is to take the vacuum pump off. Right here, 2 bolts. Right here, you got a 1/2 inch, 10 millimeter, I believe. And when you're putting this on, you're going to want to use the extended 10 millimeter and the extended 1/2 inch right here, because you have the belts in the way when you tighten those down. So just a heads up. So it's going smooth so far. Last time I took this apart, that vacuum hose right there, this one, had a pinch in it. There was a major pinch in it, and there was a hole, and so I'm glad I took it all the way apart. I took that whole bracket off, which you don't normally have to do, you just have to slide it out of the way. But I took the whole bracket off. Saved me a lot of time. Okay, I gotta pause you here because this vacuum pump is gonna fall down if I don't. Well, that's unfortunate. The vacuum hose hasn't punched through yet, but as you can see, it's starting to rub in the exact same spot the last one had a hole. So I gotta put something on that. I don't know what it's pinching against, but it's pinching against something. So next order of business, you gotta take that bolt off, that one down there, and that one. When you're taking these 3 bolts out, it's best to use the 1/2 inch extended socket. So this is the vacuum pump bracket, and my vacuum pump bracket right here is rubbing a hole in the vacuum hose. So I'm going to take a angle grinder and grind that smooth and flat, because there is a little lip right there. That's probably what's doing it. This is probably just unique to this vehicle, unique to this truck. You probably won't have to do that, but I'd just take a look at your vacuum line, see if it's rubbing. If so, then all you do is just take an angle grinder and flatten this out, make that smooth. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so I got that loose. Now you got this whole assembly loose. And last time I took those 2 bolts off and took this bracket out of the way just to give me some room, but I already know I have plenty of room to do it in this amount of space. So now I'm going to take these 2 off. Hopefully the antifreeze is drained low enough or it's not draining all over the place like last time. I believe those are 1/2 inch. Yep, 1/2 inch, both of them. And I got to be careful because there's a bleeder valve right here underneath this thermostat. What it is, it's a little BB that goes up and down and it bleeds the air out of the system. So when you do take it apart, make sure you clean that spot where the BB goes up and down so your system bleeds better. But this thermostat right here actually has its own bleeder valve. I don't know if you can see this little bobber thing right there. It's probably too close, too much sunlight. You can see that thing right there where my thumbnail is. That's a small little bleeder valve, and it lets the air out. So I guess 2 is better than 1, maybe, who knows. I'll update you once I get it off. Okay, I changed my mind. Take this bracket off. It's a 1/2 inch. No, I lied. 9/16, and you're gonna need a box end wrench on the back end. It allows you to get in there, and you're gonna have to clean the surface anyways if this is your first time taking this thermostat off. Luckily, it's my second, so I don't have to clean it again. But you're gonna need. See all the space I need in there to get that out, to get that loose. So I would recommend taking that off, unless you're in a real pinch of time, which you probably shouldn't be working on it if you're in a pinch, because you'll end up breaking something. At least that's what's my experience. I always break things when I'm in a rush. So yeah, like I said, watch out for that BB. It's in there. You don't want that falling in that bucket of antifreeze. Yeah, I got some gunk floating on the top because I'll be dropped down when I'm working on this. I'll filter that. I'm not going to videotape how to put it back together. It's pretty simple. You put this bracket on. You put this bracket back on. You tighten this down. Tighten this down. Then what you do is you put the vacuum pump on. You don't tighten it down, but you put it on. You know, you get it's snug enough where you can move it. And you put the alternator back on. Right? You put the belts all in order. Then what you do is you use a crowbar and you pry up the alternator as hard as you can get it, you know, so the belts are tight. If their belts aren't tight, they're going to squeak. And you tighten them down, you know. It's best to do it with a buddy. If you don't have a buddy, then I would recommend, let's see, how did I do that last time? I think I tightened the alternator down first and then the vacuum pump. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that's how I did it. I tightened the alternator down, I pried it back, tightened it down, and then I pushed the vacuum pump down, tightened it down. The alternator is, I want to say, is probably a little more important than the vacuum pump. So you want to get the alternator as tight as possible, and then the vacuum pump. So there you go. That's how you change the thermostat. Oh, this side up, by the way, when you stick it in there. I'm not sure if you need this gasket or not. I'm going to see if it goes on with it. If it does, then I'll keep it on. If it doesn't, then I'll take it off. So we'll see.